I feel the good in you. The conflict.
There is no conflict.
And that is why Darth Vader is still the ultimate badass. The greatest movie villain ever. He's not misguided. He's not misunderstood. He's not sympathetic. He's not incompetent. He's not even human. Not really. He's evil and powerful and terrifying. From the opening scene, Vader knows what he wants and will choke you with a wave of his hand, toss your lifeless body aside, and then blow up your entire planet to get it. Maybe that sounds a little simplistic, cliché, even naive, but it's the key to Star Wars' enduring appeal. A hero is only as good as his opposition requires. So a movie is only as great as its villain. This is why Vader works when so many who try to follow after him, including his own grandson, don't. Star Wars draws a bright line between light and dark, Empire and Rebel, good and evil, and it isn't afraid to pick sides or tell you which has the upper hand. It's Vader's greatness that makes the Rebels' fight compelling, the trench run so intense, and the victory so sweet. It's the depths of his evil that make his redemption so meaningful. So far from being simplistic, all the drama and relatability and complexity that's so often missing in modern movies is a direct result of Star Wars' simple morality.
Ironic.
Most movies today work hard to humanize their villains, thinking it makes their stories more complex or realistic. And in some cases, it can. No one is 100% evil all the time, after all, and the motives for selfishness or violence or cruelty are varied. Humanizing a villain with a tragic backstory or rough circumstances or noble intentions taken too far can help round out a character and give context to the action. Roy Batty from Blade Runner is a good example. He's a ruthless killer, less than human, but we come to see the roots of his crusade and the tragedy of his existence. By the end of the movie, we feel for him, even grieve with him, and so our perspective on the whole movie has changed. But most villains aren't Roy Batty, and their tragic childhoods or strained justifications or personal struggles come across as arbitrary or confusing or cheap, if not purely manipulative, a point Christopher Nolan makes by having Joker invent multiple backstories for his scars just to mess with his victims. Audiences can recognize when they're being emotionally manipulated, and they rarely appreciate it. But even when done well, by adding this layer of complexity, something is lost. Clarity. There's nothing wrong with a movie that truly makes you think about who's right and who's wrong, but there's a certain pleasure in knowing who to root for and who we get to hate.
He's more machine now than man, twisted and evil.
Far from being human, Vader is literally a machine, a man consumed by anger, hatred, selfishness, turned into a cold, ruthless killer. The worst parts of humanity fused with the most dangerous parts of technology. He's pure, rational evil. We know we're supposed to hate him, to fear him, and we do. So much that we begin to respect him for it, that we begin to see his unapologetic menace and unrivaled strength as kind of cool, kind of badass, the kind of monster we want to be for Halloween. His overwhelming presence infuses the movie with tension. Vader isn't someone you face. He's someone you run from. And most of the first two movies are spent running away, Vader constantly closing in. There's no question what will happen if he catches the heroes. Because Vader isn't your normal, humanized villain who just needs a good hug and some friends. He's more machine than man.
Vader was seduced by the dark side of the Force.
Eventually, Vader would get a backstory, of course, some of it tragic, but even the prequels never try to justify what he's done. You can understand why he fell without undermining the extent of his fall or the depths of his evil. No one's ever asking you to feel sorry for him. Instead, he's what villains have traditionally been, a warning of what even the best heroes can become. He's the perfect foil for Luke. In A New Hope, he's a powerful enemy Luke must overcome by trusting the Force. In Empire Strikes Back, he's a vision of what Luke could become. And in Return of the Jedi, he's the final test of Luke's strength in the Force and his commitment to the light. Without Vader as Vader, none of this works. If Vader is weak, Luke never falls and so isn't driven over 3 movies to become the greatest Jedi ever. If Vader is morally gray, the possibility of Luke's fall loses any sense of permanent consequence. If Vader is conflicted, his redemption is just a matter of time. Vader is Star Wars, as much as Luke Skywalker, maybe more.
If once you start down the dark path, forever will it dominate your destiny, consume you it will, as it did Obi-Wan's apprentice.
Vader.
Of course, we all know Vader did have a conflict and ultimately returned to the light. For 2.5 movies, we genuinely didn't know. No one at the time considered it possible that Vader would turn out to be good. He was irredeemably evil. Obi-Wan and Yoda kept telling Luke so, as a warning about the dark side. That was the point of his character. Luke overcomes impossible odds not just to fight and defeat his father, but to rescue him from an abyss which no one had ever returned. The depths to which Vader sank is precisely what made his redemption so meaningful, and the message of love and selflessness overcoming evil so powerful. Compare that to a later Star Wars villain who tries to follow in Vader's footsteps but misses this key point: his grandson, Kylo Ren.
I feel it again. The pull to the light.
Kylo makes a good start to The Force Awakens. He's obviously trying to imitate Vader with the outfit, the mask, the voice, but that makes sense for him. Like Vader, he strolls in among the carnage of his stormtroopers, cuts down an old man with cold ruthlessness, and when he stops that blaster bolt midair, that was awesome. Unfortunately, the rest of the movie seems dedicated to humanizing Kylo in ways that undermine the story. His underlings fear him, but Hux shows him little respect. His rage, while understandable, runs counter to the cold lethality that the mask and voice modulation are meant to suggest. The mask itself is ditched halfway through the first movie, a decision that shocked many viewers with the sudden juxtaposition in Kylo's appearance. Not that Adam Driver looks terrible, but his baby face and luscious hair didn't give off quite the same dark side energy as the masked Darth Vader, cloaked Sidious, or even unmasked Maul. That was intentional. He was trying to show Rey that he was human like her, and much would be made later about the bond between them. In the same scene, he's too weak to break into Rey's defenses and has the interrogation turned around on him. How? By having his insecurities about living up to Vader exposed. The movie wants you to know just how conflicted he is. He says to himself, to Vader's crumpled mask, that he feels the call back to the light. On a human level, all of this makes some sense. That could very well be an accurate depiction of how Vader's grandson would feel in this situation, but it makes for an underwhelming villain. You don't feel that he's particularly dangerous, or even all that competent. You don't feel like he's always right behind the heroes, pressing the action forward, and everything will be over if he ever gets a hold of them. They escape several times, and not because he lets them. And in the end, Rey defeats him in single combat. Can you imagine Luke defeating Vader in a duel at the end of A New Hope? He can't even come close after training with Yoda. But with Kylo, it isn't surprising at all. By the second movie, why should anyone fear him, much less Rey? If anything, he's afraid of her and trying to prove himself against her. The main goal seems to be to set up his ultimate redemption, just like Vader. But they take the meaning out of it by making it easy, obvious, inevitable, instead of doing the work to first build up why he needs to be redeemed and how difficult it will be to accomplish. Even the killing of his father, which should have been a shock, feels half-hearted.
You don't know the power of the dark side.
Now, I don't mean to pick on Kylo or the sequels here. He's one of the better new characters, just not in this role. Writing good villains is hard, and few recent movies have done it well. Just try to think of your favorite Marvel movie villain not named Thanos, who has problems of his own. At root, it's a struggle to look directly into the heart of evil. No one wants to think how appealing, how strong, how irresistible the dark side can be. So we don't. Softening it with realistic but irrelevant details. Explaining it away with comforting psychological explanations of childhood trauma and unjust societies. But these never quite add up. Because we don't identify the real nature and source of evil, we have no clear idea of how the corruption spreads and where the goodness might still linger. This leads to inconsistent, unconvincing characters. Kylo Ren is angry, very, very angry, except when he's calm and morose and insecure. He's unstable, you might say. He wants to be like Vader, wants power. He hates his family, sort of. He kills his dad, reluctantly, but he can't pull the trigger on his mom. He follows Snoke, but kills him, joins Palpatine, but betrays him. Why? What's driving him? What does he hope to accomplish in any of the movies? What first attracted him to the dark side, and what ultimately caused his fall? Why is he conflicted? What is he conflicted about? All we get is that Luke didn't trust him, maybe tried to kill him, and he wants revenge. I don't think JJ or Ryan really know either. Like parents of an angsty teen that they don't understand. To them, he's just generically bad, wants power for power's sake, angry when they need him to be, emotional when it's necessary, attached to Rey because the story says so, doing whatever the plot requires. Now, maybe that's realistic. People are complex, inconsistent, even contradictory at times. Motives aren't always clear or logical. But it's a movie, and movies are supposed to make sense.
Tell your sister you arrived.
Vader, on the other hand, is nothing if not clear. He is ruthless, cutting down his own master, killing his own men, chasing down his own son by any means necessary. His darkness is born from pride, lust for power, and the self-recrimination of the mistakes that cost him his family. But he's not totally gone. We only see the barest hints of it in the originals, but because of how he fell, because of what he still desires, he is vulnerable to a simple act of self-sacrificing forgiveness. Luke believes in his father and is willing to give himself up for him, no matter what he has done. This is exactly what Vader needs to hear, what pierces the one part of his heart that still desires the good, because it always did. He's been wanting this forgiveness, this love of family, but unable to let himself have it, ever since he killed Padme in his careless, selfish rage. And this is what Star Wars is all about. Love overcoming hatred, justice overcoming tyranny, courage overcoming power, light overcoming darkness. There's a certain simplicity to it, I admit, but it's true. Hey, I'm Dave. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed these videos, I think you'll like these too. Let me know if you think Vader's the greatest villain ever, or who you would put there if not. Till next time, nerds.